There comes a moment in every man's life when he must stand alone before the tribunal of his own mind and ask himself, who governs this kingdom? Who commands these thoughts that shape my destiny? The weak man does not ask, for he has already surrendered his throne. His emotions rule him, his impulses direct him, his fears whisper orders he obeys without question. But the strong man, the master, looks within and says, I will not be a slave to reaction. I will become the ruler of my inner world. Understand this truth. Every failure you have known, every loss that has humiliated you, every opportunity you have allowed to escape, all were born not from a lack of talent, but from a lack of control. The uncontrolled mind is a treacherous servant. It will betray you to every passing mood, every insult, every shifting wind of circumstance. It will waste your energy on trifles, scatter your focus, and exhaust your spirit before you have even begun the climb. But the disciplined mind, calm, detached, focused, is a weapon of immeasurable power. When you learn to master emotion, you master momentum. When you learn to detach, you command attention. When you learn to think accurately and act deliberately, you become a force that bends the world to its will. The average person reacts to life as a leaf reacts to the storm. He believes his emotions are truth, that his moods are facts, and that his feelings are orders. But the superior mind knows better. It knows that emotion is energy, wild, raw, and unrefined. To the untrained, emotion is a tyrant. To the trained, it is fuel. Every emotion carries power, but only discipline gives it direction. The man who can stay calm in chaos, who can smile under insult, who can stand unmoved before provocation, possesses something the world fears: authority over himself. For centuries, philosophers, generals, and kings have known this secret. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from passion's tyranny. Napoleon Hill called it control of one's own mind. Emerson called it self-reliance. It is the same truth wearing different names, that the kingdom of heaven, the empire of success, begins in the silent dominion of one's own thoughts. You cannot control the world, but you can control your reaction to it. You cannot command others until you command yourself. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. The undisciplined mind seeks comfort. The masterful mind seeks clarity. Comfort dulls the edge of greatness. Clarity sharpens it. To master detachment is not to kill feeling it, is to place it in its rightful rank. The mind must be the king, emotion the knight, desire the servant. When this order is reversed, chaos reigns. You must train your mind as a warrior trains his sword daily, deliberately, ruthlessly. Do not let idle thoughts occupy your consciousness. Do not permit emotional parasites to feed upon your energy. Every thought is a seed. The mind obeys the law of cause and effect. Sow irritation, reap conflict. Sow calmness, reap command. The outer world mirrors the inner. If your inner kingdom is ruled by storms, your outer life will be a battlefield of confusion. But if within you there is order, detachment, and purpose, your external world will slowly bow to your inner authority. Remember this principle. Success is not first a material condition, it is a mental one. Fortune follows the disciplined, not the distracted. The man who cannot control his temper cannot control his time. The man who cannot control his reaction cannot control his results. Self-mastery precedes world mastery. All great fortunes, all empires, all discoveries began in the laboratory of a controlled thought. The world is ruled by those who rule their moods. To detach emotionally does not mean to withdraw from life. It means to see life as it is, not as your fears or hopes distort it. It means to respond rather than react. Reaction is slavery. Response is command. Reaction is the animal within you. Response is the divine intelligence directing it. The masses react, the leaders respond. Between stimulus and response lies a sacred space, and within that space is your freedom, your power, your destiny. If a man insults you and you react, he has conquered you. But if you observe, understand, and remain calm, you have conquered him without battle. The world bows to those who do not bow to circumstance. True power does not shout. It remains still. True strength does not display itself in rage, but in restraint. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is composure. It is the ability to feel deeply but act wisely. The undisciplined mind is full of noise. It obsesses over what others think. It wastes energy on proving, defending, pleasing, but the disciplined mind lives in silence. It is indifferent to gossip, unaffected by opinion, untouched by provocation. Its focus is total, its purpose definite. The man who cannot be moved, said Marcus Aurelius, cannot be manipulated. To detach is to become immovable in spirit, and when you are immovable, you become inevitable. All growth begins with decision, and the highest decision a man can make is to control himself. Decide that no emotion shall dictate your path. Decide that no person shall pull your strings. Decide that your mind shall be your greatest ally, not your greatest enemy. Decision is the first act of power. Discipline is the second, and together they form the foundation of destiny. You must build a fortress within a mind so well guarded, so organized, that no negative influence can enter unchallenged. Every day you are bombarded by suggestions, from others, from media, from your past. Most men absorb them unconsciously and wonder why their thoughts are restless, but the wise man filters them with the gate of reason. He asks, is this thought true? Is it useful? Does it serve my purpose? If not, he rejects it. He refuses to be the servant of suggestion. He becomes the master of autosuggestion, planting in his subconscious only those thoughts that strengthen his will and advance his purpose. This is the law of mental chemistry. Whatever thought you repeat, you feed. Whatever emotion you indulge, you expand. Whatever image you hold, you attract. If you dwell on offense, you invite enemies. If you dwell on discipline, you invite order. If you dwell on success, you magnetize opportunities. The mind is the womb of all creation. Guard it as you would a sacred temple. Detach from the trivial, and your energy will rise to the meaningful. Detach from reaction, and you will begin to see clearly. Detach from outcome, and your actions will become pure. Detach from ego, and your power will become immense. The wise are calm, not because life is easy, but because they have mastered the law of inner control. To remain calm under pressure is the rarest form of strength. The man who can hold his peace when insulted, who can delay gratification when tempted, who can persist when discouraged, that man will eventually command worlds. You must learn to be at peace with misunderstanding. Greatness is always lonely, because few understand the discipline required to think independently. The herd reacts emotionally to every rumor. The leader responds strategically to every fact. Do not expect applause for your calmness. It threatens the insecure. They will call you cold when you are composed, arrogant when you are confident, heartless when you are focused. Let them. Their misunderstanding is the proof of your mastery. Never seek validation from those enslaved by their emotions. The emotionally reactive man lives in perpetual crisis because he allows every event to dictate his peace. He is the puppet of circumstance, dancing to the strings of irritation, envy, and fear. The emotionally detached man lives in perpetual command because his peace is not determined by what happens, but by what he decides to think about what happens. Your emotional reactions are habits, patterns, engraved through repetition. They can be rewritten. Begin each day with silence. Observe your thoughts as they rise. Do not judge them, command them. Tell yourself, I am the master of my mind. My emotions obey me. Say it until you feel it. Feel it until it becomes reality. The subconscious mind believes whatever it hears repeatedly with emotion. Feed it faith, and it will manifest miracles. Feed it fear, and it will sabotage your purpose. The choice is yours, and it is made daily. Understand, emotional detachment is the foundation of accurate thinking. To think clearly, you must be free from bias, resentment, and vanity. Emotion clouds perception. Detachment clarifies it. The calm mind sees patterns where others see chaos. The disciplined thinker sees opportunity where others see insult. When you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, wrote Kipling, you will be a man, my son. To achieve mastery, begin with self-observation. Throughout the day, watch your reactions. When irritation arises, note it, but do not feed it. When excitement arises, channel it, but do not be consumed. You are not your emotions, you are the consciousness observing them. Between the emotion and the act, there is a moment of choice. That moment is where greatness lives. You must train this power as you would train muscle. Each time you resist reaction, you grow stronger. Each time you remain calm, your command deepens. Each time you choose reason over rage, your power multiplies. Discipline compounds as surely as interest. Small victories in thought create great victories in destiny. The man who builds his mind builds his world. A mind trained in detachment becomes a fortress of focus, a citadel of clarity. Such a man cannot be bribed by pleasure, distracted by insult, or enslaved by fear. He becomes dangerous not because he harms others, but because nothing can harm his peace. He is free, and freedom terrifies those who live in emotional bondage. Continue this practice until your mind obeys instantly. When a negative thought enters, command it. Be still. When fear whispers, reply, I am the master here. When the past resurfaces, declare, you no longer rule me. Every command strengthens your sovereignty. You are building not merely a habit, but a throne from which you will rule your life. Remember, there is no mastery without opposition. Life will test your detachment. People will provoke you. Circumstances will tempt you to abandon your calm. These are not obstacles, but opportunities, the gymnasium of the soul. Each trial refines your discipline. Each insult polishes your composure. Rejoice in the test, for it reveals your strength. He who conquers himself can never again be conquered by the world. The moment you resolve to master yourself, the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. For nature always aids the determined. It does not favor the emotional, the restless, or the impatient. It favors the steady. The law of cause and effect bends to the man who does not bend to impulse. The quiet mind directs unseen forces, while the agitated mind scatters its power in noise. The calm thinker is the commander of invisible armies. When your emotions no longer control your decisions, providence begins to cooperate with your vision. Every great builder, every captain of industry, every titan of history has possessed one common trait: composure. They understood that progress demands pressure, and that pressure reveals power. The weak collapse under tension because they seek relief instead of resolve. The strong become sharper beneath it because they have learned the art of detachment. They know that panic is the signal of the untrained mind. A calm mind, even in disaster, can turn loss into leverage. Let no circumstance disturb your inner order. When the mind is still, it becomes a mirror through which truth is reflected without distortion. But when the mind is stormy, even reality appears crooked. The man who reacts in haste acts without accuracy. But the man who remains calm sees with the eye of reason. Detachment grants this vision. It makes you an observer, not a victim. You begin to perceive people not through the haze of emotion, but through the clarity of cause and effect. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And begin asking, what principle is being revealed through this event? That is the mark of mastery. Understand this law: emotion is the shadow of thought. It is not the master, but the echo. Therefore, if you would change your emotion, you must change your thought. You cannot fight emotion with emotion. You must replace it with reason. Anger is dispelled by understanding, fear by clarity, envy by gratitude. The emotion is merely a signal that the thought behind it has gone astray. When you realign your thinking, the feeling fades like mist before the sunday. Guard the door of your mind as a sentinel guards a king. Every unexamined thought is a spy from the enemy. Ask each idea that seeks entrance, who sent you? Whose purpose do you serve? If it carries fear, reject it. If it carries confusion, challenge it. If it carries faith, discipline, and direction, welcome it as an ally. You are the gatekeeper of your destiny, and your thoughts are the soldiers of your fate. To detach emotionally is to step outside the battlefield of reaction and observe it from the hilltop of reason. From that height, you see the chaos below, but you are no longer part of it. You see others fighting shadows, defending illusions, exhausting themselves over trifles. And you realize peace is not found by retreating from life, but by commanding yourself within it. Detachment is not weakness, it is wisdom in action. Remember, Nothing external can disturb you unless you grant it permission. Insults have no power unless you choose to take offense. Failure cannot define you unless you accept its verdict. Fear cannot rule you unless you yield to its suggestion. The key to power is internal sovereignty, the refusal to surrender your emotional state to external events. When you decide that only you can determine how you feel, you rise above the reach of circumstance. There is a secret known to those who lead nations, who command wealth, who shape ideas that move generations. They do not allow temporary emotions to decide permanent outcomes. They pause, they think, they act from principle, not from passion. This is why their decisions endure. Passion begins the engine, discipline drives it, emotion initiates, reason directs. Without both in harmony, man becomes either a dreamer who never acts or a brute who acts without direction. Detach from the opinions of others, and you will discover your own voice. The majority live as emotional mirrors, reflecting whatever feeling is dominant in the crowd. They cheer when others cheer, panic when others panic, hate when others hate. But the leader remains centered, not heartless, but anchored. To think independently is to detach from the collective mood. It is to stand firm while the crowd sways, and that stillness is the birthplace of genius. Train yourself to be indifferent to both praise and blame. The same mouths that exalt you today will condemn you tomorrow if you cease to entertain their emotions. Let neither affect your direction. Do not let approval inflate your ego, nor criticism pierce your peace. The moment you require validation, you hand your power to those who give it. Detachment is freedom from that slavery. The wise accept feedback as information, not as identity. When you master emotional detachment, you become unpredictable to the world. No one can manipulate you through guilt, fear, or flattery. You are no longer reactive material for others to mold. You are self-directed force. And such force terrifies the undisciplined, for it reveals their dependence. People fear what they cannot control, and the man who controls himself cannot be controlled by others. Consider the great inventors, philosophers, and empire builders. They were often misunderstood, mocked, even hated. But they remained unmoved because they had mastered emotional distance from public opinion. They knew that truth is never voted upon. The majority resists discipline because it demands the sacrifice of comfort. But the few who embrace it, they inherit the earth. Discipline is the invisible architecture of greatness. It is not merely the act of restraining yourself. It is the art of channeling your energy with precision. It is the deliberate training of attention. Without discipline, even genius decays into waste. With discipline, even average ability becomes extraordinary. A disciplined mind can build empires out of failure. You will be tempted by the illusion of ease. The undisciplined seek shortcuts because they are enslaved by their emotions. Impatience, greed, envy. But every shortcut cuts short your destiny. The disciplined man chooses the hard path, not because he loves struggle, but because he knows that mastery requires pressure. Steel becomes strong through fire. So too does the mind become unbreakable through trial. Detachment allows you to face that fire without flinching. Detach from comfort. It weakens the will. Comfort whispers lies that you deserve rest before you have earned it, that patience is for fools, that feeling good is more important than becoming great. But comfort is the enemy of evolution. The man who cannot endure discomfort will never discover his power. The disciplined mind, however, finds joy in rigor. It understands that every act of restraint is an act of creation. For each moment you say no to distraction, you say yes to destiny. Detach from outcome. You cannot command results, only actions. When you fixate on results, you become emotional anxious when delayed, arrogant when successful. But when you fix your attention on process, on doing your duty with excellence, you become unshakable. Detachment from outcome frees you to act without fear, and fear is the greatest thief of human potential. Detach from time. Do not rush destiny. Every seed has its season. The impatient dig up their roots to check for growth and kill what they plant. But the disciplined know that faith is the bridge between action and result. Work, wait, trust. Detachment is faith in motion, the ability to labor without anxiety, to strive without strain, to persist without panic. Detach from ego. The ego craves recognition. The master craves realization. Ego asks, how do I appear? Mastery asks, What am I becoming? Ego reacts to insult. Mastery observes and improves. Ego lives in comparison. Mastery lives in creation. When you detach from ego, you stop competing and start becoming. Understand this. You do not conquer the world by force, you conquer it by command. The battlefield is internal. The weapon is focus. The victory is peace. The man who can walk through noise with silence, through temptation with discipline, through rejection with dignity, that man has attained a power beyond measure. Do not think of emotional detachment as suppression. Suppression is weakness disguised as control. Detachment is understanding disguised as calm. Suppression pushes emotion into the shadows where it festers. Detachment holds emotion in the light where it dissolves. The strong do not deny emotion, they direct it. They use anger as fuel for creation, fear as signal for preparation, sadness as teacher of truth. The disciplined mind treats every emotion as a messenger, not a master. It asks, what truth is this emotion revealing? If anger arises, it asks, what boundary has been crossed? If fear arises, it asks, what preparation is lacking? If envy arises, it asks, what potential have I neglected? Thus, every emotion becomes an ally when ruled by reason. You must also learn to detach from the past. Memory is useful when it teaches, destructive when it haunts. Many live as prisoners of what was replaying old wounds, rehearsing old failures. But you cannot build the future while gazing backward. The mind must be disciplined to release. The past is instruction, not identity. Detachment means gratitude for the lesson, indifference to the wound. Detach from the future as well. Worry is the misuse of imagination. It is the emotional projection of fear into the unknown. But the disciplined thinker knows the future is not yet formed. It is shaped by today's thoughts. So why poison tomorrow with anxiety when you can purify today with focus? The best preparation for tomorrow is mastery of the present. He who conquers the moment conquers eternity. You are not paid for the hours you work. You are paid for the value you create, and value is born of clarity, not chaos. Mental discipline turns the raw material of time into the refined product of achievement. The man who cannot discipline his mind cannot discipline his actions, and the man who cannot discipline his actions will always live at the mercy of those who can. Thought is the first cause of every condition you experience. Before every act is a decision, and before every decision is a thought. Therefore, the greatest leverage you can possess in life is mastery over thought. The undisciplined thinker wanders from fear to fantasy to regret. His mind is a carnival of distractions, a marketplace of borrowed opinions. He spends his days reacting to impulses, mistaking motion for progress. The disciplined thinker, however, is an architect. He does not allow his imagination to run wild. He directs it toward purpose. He selects thoughts the way a craftsman selects tools, each serving a specific function, each used with precision. Accurate thinking is the backbone of every great success. It demands that you separate facts from opinions, truths from assumptions, causes from effects. The average man reacts to appearances. The master studies principles. He asks not, how do I feel about this? But what is the law at work here? This difference is the gulf between emotion and wisdom, between reaction and rule. Remember, the mind is both a lens and a magnet. It magnifies whatever it focuses upon and attracts whatever it holds persistently. A man who thinks in terms of difficulty attracts difficulty. A man who thinks in terms of mastery attracts opportunity. This is not mysticism, it is mental mathematics. Thought plus emotion equals vibration. Vibration plus action equals manifestation. Therefore, control the first variable, thought, and you control the equation of destiny. Train yourself to observe your thoughts as if they belong to another. Ask, would I choose to think this if I knew it would shape my reality? For indeed it does. Every repeated thought writes itself upon the subconscious, and the subconscious does not reason, it obeys. It acts upon whatever command you feed it most often and most emotionally. This is the law of autosuggestion. If you feed it weakness, it will generate excuses. If you feed it power, it will generate ideas. Begin each morning with conscious direction. Stand before your mirror and declare, today I am the master of my mind. No circumstance shall disturb my composure. No emotion shall dictate my course. Speak it until it vibrates in every cell of your being. This is not ritual, it is reinforcement. The conscious mind is the instructor, the subconscious, the pupil. The more often the pupil hears the command, the more faithfully it obeys. Self-discipline is the ability to give yourself an order and carry it out whether you feel like it or not. Emotion whispers later. Discipline answers now. Emotion seeks comfort. Discipline seeks growth. The man who obeys emotion lives as a slave to chance. The man who obeys discipline becomes the architect of fate. Do not misunderstand detachment as dullness. It is the furnace of control, a quiet intensity beneath the surface. The detached man feels everything but is mastered by nothing. His emotions are not suppressed, they are sublimated. The same energy that once expressed itself as anger becomes determination. The same impulse that once erupted as fear becomes foresight. Transmutation is the art of turning emotional energy into creative power. When disappointment visits you, as it surely will, detach and ask, what principle is being taught? Perhaps the lesson is patience or prudence or persistence. Life rarely punishes, it educates. But only the detached can read the lesson without distortion. The reactive man curses the rain. The disciplined man plants in it. Guard against the poison of resentment. Nothing drains vitality faster than emotional resistance to reality. When you resent a fact, you feed it power over you. When you accept it, you regain control. Acceptance is not approval. It is recognition of what is. From that recognition, you can choose your response. The calm acceptance of fact is the foundation of progress. Detachment also protects your imagination. When you live in constant emotional agitation, your creative faculties shut down. Worry consumes the same mental energy that invention requires. Fear occupies the same space where faith should dwell. Therefore, cultivate calmness as the environment of creation. Genius does not shout, it listens, and it hears only when the noise of emotion has been silenced. The mind, like a lens, must be cleaned to focus light. Every trace of resentment, every unexamined desire is dust upon that lens. Wipe it daily through reflection and discipline. Ask yourself before sleep, which emotion ruled me today and what did it cost? Then decide that tomorrow you will rule it instead. The self-examined mind evolves, the unexamined decays. Persist in this practice until detachment becomes your natural state. When insulted, you will smile inwardly and think, how interesting that this emotion seeks entry again. When praised, you will think, how pleasant, yet how irrelevant. When opportunity arrives, you will seize it without haste. When loss arrives, you will endure it without despair. For you will have learned that events have only the meaning your mind assigns to them. Power is not a shout. It is a silence so disciplined that the world leans in to listen. The man who rules himself emits that silence. His presence calms others because he radiates order. His words carry weight because they are born of equilibrium, not impulse. When such a man speaks, even chaos pauses to hear. To reach that level of command, you must master 3 disciplines: attention, interpretation, and intention. Attention determines what enters the mind. Interpretation determines how you frame it. Intention determines what you do with it. Control these 3 and you control your destiny. Attention is the gateway of power. Most squander it on trifles, gossip, outrage, distraction. But attention, concentrated, becomes a laser that cuts through impossibility. Guard it as treasure. Each time you let irritation seize your focus, you are paying with power. Detachment protects your attention by refusing to feed every stimulus that clamors for reaction. Interpretation is the second mastery. Between event and emotion lies meaning, and meaning is a choice. 2 men may face the same hardship. One sees misfortune, the other sees training. The first reacts, the second grows. Detachment grants you that second sight. You cease asking, why me? And begin asking, for what purpose? Intention is the crown of discipline. Every thought, every act must serve your definite purpose. Without intention, energy disperses. With intention, energy concentrates. Detachment ensures that intention is not corrupted by vanity or fear. You act because it is right, not because it is comfortable. You pursue because it is aligned, not because it is applauded. As this discipline deepens, you will feel an inner stillness that no storm can shake. The body may labor, the world may rage, but within a perfect calm endures. From that calm, decisions arise with precision. The hesitant become decisive, the impulsive become deliberate, the fearful become formidable. Such stillness is not idleness, it is readiness. Imagine your mind as a great engine. Emotion is the fuel, but discipline is the governor that directs its speed. Without the governor, the engine burns itself out. With it, the engine drives mountains. Most men burn their energy in emotional friction. The master converts every spark into motion. That is the secret of efficiency in thought and life. The mind you build will become so powerful that others will feel it before you speak. They will sense your certainty, your serenity, your silent command. It will unsettle those who live by reaction, for your calm exposes their chaos. But do not shrink from this power. Refine it, for the world is starving for examples of mastery. When you walk into a room detached from fear and desire, you alter its atmosphere. People may not understand, but they will feel the vibration of discipline. You have become, in truth, a center of gravity. Such presence cannot be faked. It is earned through years of silent training, the training of thought, emotion, and will. Every day offers a new opportunity to practice mastery. The insult that once angered you becomes a test. The delay that once frustrated you becomes a lesson in patience. The temptation that once ruled you becomes proof of your progress. Rejoice in these moments, for they are the forge in which greatness is made. Continue until the habit of composure becomes instinct, until your first reaction to difficulty is stillness, not struggle, until the noise of the world passes through you without leaving a mark. Then you will have achieved what few ever know: sovereignty of soul. You must now understand the greatest secret of all achievement: neutrality. The law of mental neutrality is the invisible foundation upon which all power rests. It means to remain centered between extremes, unmoved by flattery, unshaken by insult, untouched by pleasure, unbroken by pain, for both praise and blame are winds that can sway the unbalanced. But the neutral mind remains unmoved because it stands upon principle, not perception. It asks not, "How do I feel?" but "What is right? What is necessary? What serves my purpose?" Such neutrality is not coldness, it is poise. It is the equilibrium of a master mind, a consciousness immune to manipulation, a mind that acts from design, not from demand. To reach this state, you must train your mind to observe, to wait, to measure, and to act from understanding rather than emotion. When provocation comes, you must not rush to strike. When opportunity comes, you must not rush to grasp. Both haste and hesitation are forms of fear. Calmness is confidence in motion. The neutral mind is not passive, it is deliberate. It waits only to ensure that its movement is aligned with its highest vision. When it moves with precision, and its power appears as inevitability. The neutral mind is the seat of genius. Every great thinker, every strategist, every leader who altered history operated from calm neutrality. They did not allow emotion to cloud judgment. They stepped outside the immediate and saw the pattern behind the event, the cause behind the symptom. That vision, born of detachment, gave them foresight, the ability to act not merely upon what is, but upon what will be. The man who sees only through emotion sees fragments. The man who sees through neutrality sees the whole. Do not mistake neutrality for indecision. It is not the absence of choice, but the presence of clarity. The neutral mind does not drift, it directs. It is calm not because it is unaware of danger, but because it knows its course. Such calmness is contagious. It steadies others and bends circumstances to its rhythm. The one who remains calm longest controls the outcome. As you cultivate this stillness, you will find that life begins to slow before you, even as you move faster within it. Events will appear less chaotic. Time itself will feel more obedient. This is the paradox of detachment. By releasing your need to control, you gain true control. By ceasing to chase, you begin to attract. By ceasing to react, you begin to rule. In this state, your actions become effortless because they are no longer divided by doubt. Your will is unified, your purpose certain, your energy undiluted. You act with the weight of inevitability. This is the quiet magnetism of mastery. Others feel it without knowing why. You will not need to assert dominance. Your composure will announce it. You will not need to argue. Your certainty will silence opposition. The world follows those who have conquered themselves because self-command is the rarest of all powers. Do not seek to impress, seek to improve. Do not strive to appear powerful, strive to become powerful. The man who performs for others wastes his strength in display. The man who acts for principle channels his strength into creation. Power does not come from being seen, it comes from being certain, and certainty is the fruit of discipline. When you live by emotional detachment, you begin to taste the freedom that most men only imagine. You are no longer enslaved by the opinion of the crowd, no longer manipulated by the moods of the day, no longer disturbed by the uncertainty of the future. You become sovereign. Your mind becomes your fortress, your will its general, your purpose its law. You stand as your own master, and life, seeing that you have claimed dominion, begins to obey. From this mastery arises something deeper than success serenity. Success is conquest of circumstance. Serenity is conquest of self. And the man who has attained serenity is unconquerable, for nothing external can overthrow what is inwardly whole. Each morning, renew your decision to live as master of your mind. Observe your thoughts with vigilance. Speak only what strengthens your purpose. Move only with intention. Refuse to dwell on injury. Refuse to entertain fear. Refuse to respond in haste. Let your every act be deliberate, your every word precise, your every thought aligned with your highest ideal. The mind, once trained, becomes your greatest asset, and the world will yield to it, for it yields to those who think clearly, calmly, and courageously. When discouragement appears, and it will do not retreat into emotion, retreat into silence. When you are silent, you hear the quiet voice of reason beneath the noise of fear. That voice will always tell you what to do. It is the voice of your higher self, the quiet architect that never loses its blueprint, even when the outer construction seems to collapse. Trust that voice more than you trust your moods. Moods fluctuate. Principles endure. It is better to be hated for calmness than to be loved for chaos. Better to be feared for focus than admired for frenzy. The world celebrates excitement, but progress is made by poise. The masses act in haste and call it passion. The masters act with patience and call it purpose. The former seek validation, the latter seek victory. Detachment will isolate you at first, for few can endure the silence in which power is forged. The herd flees from solitude because solitude reveals the noise within, but solitude is the workshop of strength. The mind, left alone and directed toward purpose, becomes luminous. It begins to see connections invisible to the restless. It learns the rhythm of patience, the architecture of foresight, the peace of inevitability. Be willing to be misunderstood. Be willing to be alone. Greatness is never born in crowds. It is born in clarity. As your detachment deepens, your perception of struggle itself changes. You no longer ask for ease. You ask for mastery. You no longer resist challenge. You welcome it as the gymnasium of growth. You realize that the purpose of adversity is to reveal the level of your control. Every storm becomes a mirror showing you what remains ungoverned within you. And so, rather than curse the storm, you thank it, for without it, your strength would remain untested. This is how you build a mind so powerful it terrifies everyone. Not by aggression, but by precision. Not by domination, but by discipline. Not by noise, but by silence. The calm man is more dangerous than the angry one, for his decisions are deliberate. His words are few, but they strike with accuracy. His movements are measured, but their impact is immense. He does not react, he responds. He does not chase, he attracts. He does not fear, he foresees. You have within you the capacity to become such a man, a ruler in the unseen empire of thought. But you must begin now. Every moment you delay, the habit of reactivity deepens. Every time you indulge emotion without reason, you train weakness. But every act of restraint strengthens your will, and every act of calmness sharpens your mind. The greatest victory is always internal. Remember this eternal formula. Thought is cause, emotion is effect, action is expression, destiny is result. Reverse the chain, and you reclaim control. Direct your thought, and your emotion will obey. Govern your emotion, and your action will align. Master your action, and your destiny will follow. This is not philosophy, it is law. The same law that governs electricity, gravity, and growth governs success. Obey it, and you will rise. Violate it, and you will remain a prisoner of chaos. Do not expect instant transformation. Mastery is a process, not a moment. You will stumble. You will forget. You will be tempted to fall back into reaction. But each return to awareness is victory. Each recovery is progress. The man who disciplines himself daily, even imperfectly, surpasses the man who waits for perfect conditions to begin. Progress is born, not of perfection, but of persistence. One day, without realizing it, you will awaken and feel something shift. You will notice that what once disturbed you no longer moves you. What once frightened you now amuses you. What once tempted you now bores you. And you will understand that you have crossed the invisible threshold of mastery. You will walk through life as calm as a mountain, as deliberate as a clock, as certain as the sunrise. The world will sense your presence before you speak. You will become unhurried but unstoppable, detached but deeply engaged, silent but thunderously effective. That is the paradox of a powerful mind. The less it reacts, the more it impacts. Do not seek to dominate others. Seek to dominate yourself. When you are master of self, the world must follow. The world bows not to arrogance, but to composure. It yields not to noise, but to certainty. A calm mind is the throne of destiny. And when the world asks you what secret has granted you such serenity, such focus, such strength, you will smile not in pride, but in understanding and say, I have learned to rule my inner world. For he who rules his mind rules his life. He who rules his emotion rules his fate. And he who rules himself rules the world.